Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Today's story is one that'll hit close to home for anyone grinding it out in the IT world, or any job really, where your effort goes unnoticed and your burnout goes ignored. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. They said to prioritize myself, so I did, and left them to drown in their own mess. I've been working in IT for the last 10 years, and the past 4 have been spent at my current company. I joined with high hopes, especially after having some pretty rough experiences with both coworkers and bosses at my previous positions. When I first started, I was genuinely excited because most of the staff seemed incredibly friendly, and I thought this might be a place I could stay long term. At first, things were great. The work was manageable and the team dynamic was fantastic. However, as time passed, I began to notice some issues, small at first, but they grew. We were definitely understaffed in IT. It wasn't too bad at first, but as the company grew, so did the workload. We'd been able to handle our daily tasks and projects fairly well, but then came the wave of new corporate regulations and an increasing number of software programs that needed to be supported. That's when things started to unravel. I began bringing up the need for more help in our team. At first, it was just a casual mention here and there, but as the workload increased, I began asking my team leader more directly for additional staff. For a year, I raised this issue at least once a month. Each time, the response was the same. You just need to prioritize your work. Of course, that wasn't the issue at all. We were operating at 110% capacity, and prioritizing work wasn't going to solve that. We were stretched thin. The work we were taking on wasn't just the usual stuff. It was more critical and more time-consuming. So what did we do? We started working longer hours. We got the job done, but it was a temporary fix. Eventually, even working overtime couldn't keep up with the growing demands. We were burning out. Corporate IT was getting more and more hostile, communication issues became a daily frustration, and the workplace environment began to feel toxic. If you didn't message certain people directly, something that was strictly prohibited in normal protocol, you'd face backlash. People around me started leaving, and that only made things feel worse. I was now stuck in a cycle of frustration, exhaustion, and feeling like the company didn't care. Every day I was questioning how much longer I could stay. About 3 years in, I watched our trainee leave. We sat down for a conversation about pay, and he told me he was leaving because he wasn't being paid enough for the work he was doing. That hit me hard, but it also gave me some clarity. I realized that I'd been passively looking for a new job for at least 6 months without even really admitting it to myself. I couldn't keep going like this. It was time for a change, but before I made any big decisions, I wanted to give my team leader one more chance to address the situation. I went to him and asked for a salary increase of at least 8% to compensate for the additional work I was taking on, and I stressed that the team needed more hands. I told him honestly about the problems I was seeing, the burnout, the overwork, the lack of support, and that I didn't think I could stay if things didn't change. His response was typical. You just need to prioritize yourself. That was the moment I knew it was time to go. The lack of urgency or support in his reply made it clear that nothing was going to change, and I was done. A few weeks later, I heard from my boss, the one above my team leader, that my team leader had never actually asked for more staff, even though I'd been asking for over a year. That was frustrating, but not surprising. I think my team leader was either too complacent or just didn't want to make waves. Regardless, I trusted my boss more because he had always been straightforward and sincere with me, but that trust couldn't make up for the lack of action I'd experienced on the front lines. In the end, I left the company, and I don't regret it. The experience taught me a lot about what I need from a workplace, support, respect, and the resources to do my job properly. It also showed me that sometimes you have to make the hard decision for yourself, even if it means walking away from something you once hoped would be long-term. Starting fresh now, it's not easy, but I feel lighter and more confident in my decision. No more working for a company that doesn't prioritize its people. No more being stuck in an environment that drains you. For the first time in a while, I feel like I can breathe again. Moral of the story, if you're stuck in a job that doesn't respect you or value your work, don't wait for things to get better. Make the change for yourself, even if it's scary. Your well-being is worth more than a paycheck. The fact that OP spent over a year respectfully raising concerns and nothing changed is just so typical of toxic middle management. The phrase, "you just need to prioritize your work," is such a lazy, dismissive response when someone's clearly telling you they're drowning. It's corporate speak for shut up and deal with it. And our second story. Neighbors wanted a shortcut through our driveway. We offered a fence. Now they want us to pay for a gate. About 1 year ago, my fiance and I purchased some land in a newly developed area. All the houses are less than 10 years old. Our land is down a long driveway. The driveway is shared with another piece of land next to us. Both the previous owner of our land and the owner of the other empty property both intended to build houses, but COVID happened and they ran out of money. Unbeknownst to us, when we bought the land, they had both agreed to let all the kids in the neighborhood use the land as a playground. They'd also allowed the house between our property and the road to take down a section of the fence between their backyard and our driveway so they could get a trailer directly to their backyard. The fence panels they removed still exist and are sitting in their backyard leaning against the remainder of the fence. We started building a house immediately after purchase and are almost finished. We come to realize the gap in the fence is a major problem. All of the neighborhood kids play together in their backyard. They have kids and use the driveway as a shortcut to the empty section in friend's house. On multiple occasions, we've had to slam on our brakes because a kid has run out of the gap across our driveway. The driveway is a steep hill and it's not easy to stop quickly, especially trucks arriving with building supplies, etc. The gap also looks very messy. It's where they hide all their rubbish, etc. They don't want seen from the front of their house, but it's the front of our house. Garden waste, dirt, etc. slides off their section and onto our driveway. We told them we want to put the fence back up and that we would happily be the ones to do it. My husband's a builder and repairing a fence is a relatively easy job for him. They replied that they agree because of the safety issue, which they claim to be unaware of, but they intend to put a gate in so they can continue to get a trailer to their backyard. Initially, we were against this, but they made a good argument for themselves, promised to only use it a few times a year with advance permission, and to always tidy up any mess. We reluctantly agreed. Fast forward a few weeks and we get a message saying they have a quote for getting a gate installed, $1,700, and they expect us to pay half because it's a shared fence. We were shocked. We replied no and explained the gate's only benefiting them and that we should not have to pay for them to use our driveway. They replied that was an abrupt response and that we had told them we would happily help with the fence. I replied yes, with a fence, not a gate. And by help, we meant my husband put back the original fence at no cost to anyone, not fund a gate that only benefits them. Oh, no. See, this is why compromise with entitled neighbors always comes with a price tag, and apparently in this case it's $850 each for their custom gate. Hoping you put that fence up, skip the gate entirely, and enjoy your home in peace, because nothing says a welcome to the neighborhood like someone trying to charge you for their shortcut across your driveway. And our last story. Karens parked inside my barn. I grew up in New Jersey in a foster farm family. When my foster parents passed away, their will left me 120 acres in Salem County, an old farmhouse, a barn, and several outbuildings. I never planned on farming, so I sold most of the crop fields to the neighbor and kept the house plus 5 acres around the barn, just enough for the odd weekend getaway from city life. Couple years later, the Mitchell family bought the parcel next door. They set up a mobile home and were friendly enough until their matriarch, Karen, decided my barn made the perfect community garage. I discovered her Subaru Outback neatly parked in the very center of my otherwise empty yet very private barn when I arrived one Friday evening. The moment Karen slammed her door and locked the vehicle inside, I phoned the New Jersey State Police dispatcher. 20 minutes later, a dusty Crown Vic bearing Troop A markings turned onto my gravel drive. Trooper Gary Sloan met me at the gate, where I handed him the deed and 2 photos, one of the barn with a bright "No Trespassing" sign, the other showing Karen's white Subaru parked inside. While Gary copied my information, Karen burst out waving her arms. "He's an imposter," she screamed. "The real owner died 10 years ago." I quietly passed Gary my driver's license and a notarized copy of the will. He glanced at the documents, then at Karen, sighed like a patient parent, and said, "Ma'am, unless you can prove this building is yours, you'll need to move the car, and you may be facing a trespass complaint." Karen shouted about a racist system and slammed her gate. Gary issued her a summons for criminal trespass, New Jersey Statute 2C 18-3, and handed me the duplicate. He explained that impounding the vehicle required a court order, but warned Karen she had 24 hours to move it voluntarily. Next morning, I hired a carpenter to hang wrought iron gates with a keypad lock and mounted trail cam security cameras under the eaves, finishing before lunch. That evening, I emailed the trooper the installation pictures and a live feed link, just in case. 3 nights later, a camera caught Karen and her husband Cliff sawing off my padlock with a cordless grinder and rolling the gates aside. I forwarded the clip to Gary. At dawn, he was on their porch with arrest warrants for criminal mischief, New Jersey Statute 2C 17-3. The flashing lights woke half the township, and 3 neighbors dragged lawn chairs outside to watch the movie. Karen posted a $1,000 bond, but a municipal court date was set within a month. The evidence was ironclad. Meanwhile, I filed a civil suit for damages, gates, lock, cameras, plus storage fees, $20 per day, common practice for tow lots. Judges like clean math, my attorney Jill D'Angelo noted. Karen's Austin-educated lawyer, she found him online, moved to delay proceedings, claiming his client felt vulnerable to the owner's anti-Asian bias. Judge Walter Briggs, a silver-haired Air Force vet, asked, "Mrs. Mitchell, are you concerned about the plaintiff's ethnicity or New Jersey property law?" A ripple of laughter rolled through the courtroom. The motion died in under a minute. At the second hearing, the defense floated a historic agricultural easement, insisting previous owners let neighbors use the barn. We produced the land sale contract, outbuildings not conveyed, plus sworn testimony from the neighbor who bought the fields. The barn had always been locked, and he never had a key. Judge Briggs didn't drag it out. Criminal sentence, 6 months probation, 100 hours of community service, $750 fine. Civil judgment, $4,632 for the gates, lock, cameras, and 63 days of Subaru parking. Karen also had to replace my bent gate posts. When the bailiff read the decision, Karen sobbed. Cliff whispered, "We just wanted covered parking." I met his gaze. Covered parking costs less than a lawyer. A week later, a crew shifted their mobile home half a meter. County survey showed it sitting inside my line. Their lot looked like a storm-torn runway, trenches, clay piles, scattered cinder blocks. I, meanwhile, installed solar panels, converted the shed into a workshop, and lined the driveway with pecan trees. Friends came for weekend barbecues while Karen, hood up, glared over her cricket fence. 6 months on, a letter arrived. "We'd like to buy your barn at a fair price," signed by a realtor for the Mitchells. I replied, "Not for sale. Bays available for rent, $300 a month, 1 year prepaid." Silence. That spring, a for sale sign appeared on their parcel. The new buyer, a retired Marine, shook my hand and admired the barn. Solid building, and I see it already has an owner. Exactly a year later, I sipped sweet tea on the porch as the last of Karen's moving trucks bounced down the lane. Trooper Gary slowed, waved, and called, "All squared away?" "All squared," I said, thinking that sometimes all it takes to protect your space is a lock, a camera, and a bit of stubbornness. Plus a boundary drawn not by a gun, but by the law. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.